March is upon us once again,
Mm-hmm.
which means it's time for everyone to get mad. I'm mad.
Why am I mad?
Because it's March.
Oh, March Madness. I get it.
Ayy. Which
Hey.
also means it's time for our brand of March Madness, where we do the same thing, but it's not sports related, but we just yell about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Madness. March.
This is not Sparta.
No, of course not. If you remember last year, we here on the Season Language Check of OVA, that's our podcast. It's where we talk about video games, anime, manga. Hello, I'm Jared. That's Doc Alley and Ladium.
Hello.
Last year, we determined the scientifically best Persona character from the games 3 through 5, which we determined was one Junpei.
Which apparently you're still shocked by.
And this year,
Not that he's like, you're not shocked that he's good. You're shocked that that's how it came out.
This is a surprising outcome.
I hope there's a surprising outcome here. Or just that mine wins.
So we're going to do something very similar this year, of course.
Mhm.
We have 64 entries here, but this time we're talking about music.
And it goes across all the personas, as opposed to just 3 through 5.
And all of the games, all the spin-off games, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Basically everything. Everybody's here.
Everybody's here. It's like Smash, but you didn't have to unlock all this stuff.
True. All the games are pretty much represented. Basically, we talked about this on our Patreon exclusive podcast where we narrowed this thing down to 64. But every game that has an opening, an ending, and a battle theme, all of those three were locked in immediately. And then from the other games, we kind of just picked and chose, like, okay, what songs are important, what songs are, iconic, are associated most frequently with this game. And then we narrowed all that stuff down to 64. And that's what we got today. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to narrow this list of 64 down to 1.
Which, thank you guys who filled out brackets.
Yes, if you're wanting to do that, we will leave a link in the description of this podcast where you can go fill out a bracket. Just be forewarned that we have had multiple instances of people filling out brackets and then it just not saving. So
Correct.
make sure like you double, triple check that it saves and goes up, and if not, just like, I don't know, screenshot your picks before you submit it. That way, in case it messes up, you can just easily redo it. I don't know. That seems like it'd be an easy solution for that. Or just if it would work the first time, that would be great too.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I ended up filling mine out completely again.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But we are going to do our official one. We have done ours individually, and now we come together as a collective. And
now we have to be objective.
We have to be objective, scientific, because this is going to determine the scientific best Persona song out of all the games.
Yes.
So I believe, without further ado, I believe we should just dive right into this. We have 32 first-round matchups to get through, 64 songs that we will narrow down to 32, and then to 16, and then to 8, and then to 4, and then to 2, and then 1. 64 enter, 1 leaves. 64 songs parachute out of a plane, drop onto an island. One wins. Let's start here with our first matchup. It is the Persona 2 Innocent Sin opening. This is the PlayStation 1 version of the game. Going up against One Night Break, which I believe is the credit song for Persona 5 Dancing Star Night.
Correct.
I believe this is going to be an easy one. And I believe
it is for me.
The Persona 2 opening is going to head on to the second round. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I think that if anybody wants to ask us why, for one, it really, really fit the like atmosphere of the game. And it's just like a nice song. I say nice in the sense that it's not like a fun and pleasant experience that makes me feel very calm, but like it really fits. And I think that's why. And also just like, I
didn't really like the original P5 songs for Dancing Star Night, so.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah. Our second matchup is going to be very tough.
This one is very hard.
Right off the gate. Two songs from Persona 4. We have Signs of Love and Heartbeat Heartbreak. Which is, it's tough because these are both very good songs. Kind of used in very similar situations. So, like,
Yeah.
You pretty much have them ingrained into your head, and
I went with Heartbeat Heartbreak.
I don't know what I went with.
Did you not pull yours up?
No, I didn't, but I'll do that right now.
Just because I generally liked listening to it more when I was in the game.
I also went with, or did you say you went with Heartbeat Heartbreak?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I also did as well, so maybe.
All right, well,
I mean,
clearly our opinions are the best. Like I said, I just think that to me, it was a more enjoyable song to listen to. Not that Signs of Love is bad. It's just that they're both really good songs.
If I was going to like say, I'm going to think of a song for Persona 4, it would probably be Heartbeat Heartbreak over Signs of Love.
Correct.
So.
Same.
Alrighty. We move on to the third matchup, which is a matchup of credit songs. We have Change Your Way from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment and Changing Me from Persona Q. A lot of change in the air.
A lot of change here.
I feel like these are both songs that fit their respective game, but I'm going to say that we give, or in my opinion, I don't want to speak for you, but I believe the winner here is Change Your Way. I
voted for that as well.
Okay. Just because I don't think this is going to make it out of the next round, but Change Your Way, I believe like lyrically it fits the entirety, like the story of Persona 2 Eternal Punishment very well. And also, it's a song that fits that time period perfectly.
Yeah. All right, well, congrats to Change Your Way as opposed to Changing Me.
Yeah, a lot of change going on here. Up next, we have The Days When My Mother Was There from Persona 5 and the Genesis from Persona 4.
Which, that's Futaba's dungeon music, and then the Genesis is the final boss in Persona 4. Which I said on the Patreon episode that I really wanted to talk about the Genesis and why I have such strong feelings for it.
Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to save that argument for later? Or?
Well, does the Genesis go forward now?
I think it does, but I think like it's very slim. Like to me, and I don't want to like sound like this is like a really easy choice or anything, but like if you said like, hey, pick a song that's very emblematic of like the style of the Persona 5 soundtrack, I feel like The Days When My Mother Was There is very much that, where it's like it's got that jazz in it, it's got that funk, like
it's one of the best songs on the soundtrack.
It is.
Period.
It really is. And like if this was matched up with like 75% of the other songs on here, it probably would be going on to the next round.
Yeah.
But I think the Genesis is far more of an iconic song.
It has a leitmotif in there.
Yeah, it does a lot of interesting things that this doesn't really do. And I think just the Genesis has more going on for it currently. But like I don't want to take anything away from The Days When My Mother Was There, because that song is very good.
It's very, very good. But I have very, very strong feelings about the Genesis, and eventually we'll get there.
Which I think we should say, like, a lot of the songs on here are like there's nothing really on here that's like bad. Like,
correct.
All of these 64 are pretty much like top tier. So it's not like we're gonna be like, oh man, this is real easy because like this song's trash. We have the fifth matchup now. It is the Persona 3 FES version of Mass Destruction taking on A Way of Life from Persona 3 Portable. Now, if you
know what I did.
Yeah, of course. If you're unaware of what the P3 FES version of Mass Destruction sounds like, it's a remix version of Mass Destruction. It has a little bit more Lotus Juice rap in it, and it's the one that like doesn't start off with just immediately baby 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 baby. It's like it has like it has that going at the very beginning. So there is a difference.
It's basically like the second verse of the song is like if you were considering Mass Destruction to be more than just like the P3 like vanilla version, like think of that as like that's the first verse and the first chorus, and then this would be like the second version of that, like the second verse and chorus, in my opinion anyway.
I think for me I would go with A Way of Life.
I went with A Way of Life
just because the P3P VMC soundtrack is just amazing,
like god tier.
I mean, it gave a son, so of course it is.
Oh my God, fight me.
Oh, hey, at least I did not include it in this.
I appreciate that because I would have been so mad. But A Way of Life is so good, and again, it's one of those songs that like when you think of a P3P song, you're like, okay, A Way of Life is that.
Yeah, totally.
It's a lot of fun.
Next up, matchup number 6, we have Dream of Butterfly, which is the Persona 1 PSP opening, taking on A New World Fool from Persona 4, which is the Adachi boss fight music.
Adachi boss fight, which A New World for me because it's so chaotic and it fits him very, very well.
And for me, like, a lot of like the changes they made to the PSP remakes of Persona 1, Persona 2, both versions of those, like the openings, they just don't fit those games.
They don't.
They fit the style of like, hey, we need to market this to people who played Persona 3 and Persona 4, or we need to like let them like, oh, you know, this style is very familiar.
This is familiar.
Yeah. But if you're looking at this like by itself and thinking like, okay, does this opening really fit the tone of this game? It doesn't.
It doesn't at all. And that's part of the reason. Like, A New World Full is fantastic on its own, but that's also why I moved it forward, is because the other one just does not fit the style.
Which, like,
it's not a bad song.
Right, exactly.
It just isn't a good song for Persona 1.
Up next, we have the battle theme from Persona 2 Innocent Sin taking on Snow Queen from Revelations Persona, which is an interesting thing because we are using the Revelations Persona version, not the PSP version.
Correct.
But North American players of Revelations Persona would never have heard this song because the Snow Queen portion of that game was not included in the North American version. So, perhaps for some of you, this might be the first time you've heard this version of this song. So, that would be very interesting to hear.
I will say that was the first time, like, this playlist is the first time I've heard it. And I voted for it because I was like, wow, this is freaking amazing. Like, I had never heard this song before you made the list. And legit, there was no way I was not putting it forward in my bracket.
I really like the battle theme from Innocent Sin. But I think I could be swayed to push Snow Queen here forward just because of... Especially when you compare that to... the actual soundtrack of Revelations Persona, it's very different from everything else.
Yeah.
Like, it gives you this feeling of, like, you know, you're in this completely different quest. And I feel like that really works and really helps it, like, stand out on its own compared to everything else on that soundtrack. So I think, I think Snow Queen goes forward here.
Yeah.
Which I believe I did not do on mine. Yeah, I did not push Snow Queen forward.
Ooh.
Our next matchup sees Burn My Dread from Persona 3, the opening of that, taking on Today from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I believe that's the credits theme.
Which, I know you said that none of these are really going to be easy choices. This is an easy one for me. Burn My Dread is phenomenal. And
it's iconic.
It's so iconic.
Yeah. Nothing taking away from Today. I think that's a really good song. I definitely enjoy it, but some of these matchups, like, you're going up against heavy hitters, and I believe
Burn My Dread is a heavy hitter.
I wrote almost. It looks like I wrote like a D there. I tried to put burn my dread.
Burn my bread.
Burn my bread. Up next, a battle of Persona 2 Innocent Sin songs as Unbreakable Tie, which is the PSP opening, takes on Kimi no Tonore, which is the end credits theme. I believe once again, like the same argument we had for the P1 PSP opening applies here, where like I enjoy Unbreakable Tie. Like Lotus Juice is fantastic.
Fantastic.
But again, this is a song that does not fit the tone of this game, and especially if you compare it to the original opening, which is fantastic.
It's very different.
Yeah, it's very, very different, and it's definitely something that fits that tone way better than this does. Yeah. And I think Kimi no Tonore is a really good end credit song for that game as well, and fits the tone of it as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I moved it forward.
Following that, we have.
I still love you.
Following that, we have another battle of end credits. We have Persona. Actually, Persona is the opening to Persona. So the opening of Revelations Persona taking on Memories of You from Persona 3, which is the end credits song. We're not going to spend much time on this. Memories of You is going to go forward, obviously.
It's going forward.
I like the tone that the opening of Revelations Persona gives you. The only thing that really detracts from it is that it is very slow.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of build to no climax.
Correct.
And I think some of the remixes they've done of the song are better. Like specifically the P3 version that is on the disc is a better version of that song, but it's definitely one of those that it really sets the tone for those early games, and it really does that. It's just, it's very, very slow, and you'd have to really appreciate that slowness to get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Up next, we have...
This is the battle of an opening.
Another battle of opening. The opening of Persona 4 Golden, Shadow World, taking on the opening of Persona 5 Dancing Moon Knight, Groovy.
So, Shadow World is a really, really fun song. It's also a very happy song, despite some of the tonnage in Persona. My issue with Groovy, and I do take issue with it, is that the way that they mash it together, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
so you know what I mean? They put the wake up, get up, get out there in the middle of it, and it doesn't work.
I think for me, I just feel like that song's boring.
It is boring.
Which is kind of I think that's a problem emblematic of, like we said, those original songs in that game, and also just the remixes in that game as well. So
yeah, they're not good. But anytime Shadow World comes up on shuffle on my phone, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And I know a lot of people did not like it because they're like, oh god, is this nonsense? And I'm like, it fits. It's one of those songs that you're like, okay, cool. It sounds happy and it's exciting, but then you're also knowing there's some darker undertones to this song, which is a lot of what Persona 4 is about. Is on the surface it's happy and everything's fine and we have friends, but then also there are terrible murders happening. So it fits very well in my opinion.
Yeah. What we got next? We have the battle theme.
Revelations Persona.
Yeah, the Revelations Persona battle theme versus Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There from Persona 5.
This is one that I actually voted for Persona 5.
Yeah.
Because that song is super iconic for that game.
It is, and that was one of the first things you ever saw about that game, and you're like, ooh, what's this?
Yes.
I obviously would have more experience with the battle theme from Revelations Persona, which I enjoy, but I feel like the later incarnations in 2 are a little bit better. So yeah, I would put Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There forward.
This next one's tough.
Up next, we have Snowflakes from Persona 4 Golden taking on Memories of the City from Persona 3.
These are both very, very good songs.
They are. But I think this is an easier choice than you're making it out to be.
No. What I mean is that if Snowflakes had gone up against something else...
Yeah, totally.
It would have gotten forward.
Totally.
Easily. But with it going against Memories of the City, it can't. There's no way.
Memories of the City is just
that's what I mean that it's
fantastic.
Hard. Is that like Memories of the City is such a good song. So it's more of an unfortunate mashup in terms of like, I'm sorry, Snowflakes, but that's what I mean that it's hard.
Yeah.
Not that it's an actual hard decision, because it's not.
Yeah. Up next, back to Persona 3 battle as we have P3 Fez from P3 Fez taking on Mass Destruction from Persona 3.
So my personal feelings on this are going to have to go aside because I know what the objective answer is here.
It's baby 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 baby.
That's the objective decision here. Is Mass Destruction would have to go forward because it is, again, very, very iconic. I personally think that the P3 Fez opening is way better of a song than Mass Destruction, but I know that
I don't know if I would agree with you, honestly.
I'm not saying you have to.
I know, I'm just saying.
That I know that Mass Destruction goes forward because it has to, but I personally like the Fez opening better.
I kind of always felt like the Fez opening was like this weird amalgamation of Persona 3 songs in general. And I felt like that always kind of held it back in my opinion, for whatever reason.
And see, I like that version. Like, it's done much better than like Groovy was in the sense that like it had callbacks.
Yeah.
But I liked that it was kind of like a combination of like Burn My Dread and Mass Destruction. I thought it was really fantastic. But we know Mass Destruction goes forward here.
Yeah, of course. Up next, we have Your Affection from P4 and Now I Know from Persona 4, Persona 4 Arena.
Again, in terms of iconicness, Your Affection's got to go. It's got to go forward.
Yeah.
Now I Know is good. The remix is better.
Yes.
This is so much better.
Which, of course, we should also mention that we're not accounting remixes into these, but
correct.
You know, we can also always call them out when we deem fit.
We could say it's a good remix when it's a good remix. That's a good remix. But I think Your Affection is objectively better for this.
Following that, we have a battle of openings. We have the opening from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment taking on Break Out of from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. You know how we've been talking about how the PSP openings of the remakes of Persona 1 and 2 have not really felt like they fit the tone of those games. I would argue that it's the opposite, actually, for Eternal Punishment, where the remix of they use the same opening, but they kind of like remix it and they kind of do the cinematic for it. And I honestly think they do it better on the PSP version.
All right. Nice.
And I think as well, like, the Eternal Punishment opening is very short.
Yes, it is very, very short.
It's just kind of like you get in there and you get out. And I think that kind of holds it back in general compared to like the Revelations Persona or the Persona 2 in a sense Sin opening. And Break Out of is really good.
It is really good.
And I think it sneaks through here.
Yep. It won't go any further, but it does get through here.
This next one is also it's a tough one.
Yeah, because I know that one of these, so the matchup is between Rivers in the Desert from Persona 5 and Heartful Cry from Persona 3 Fez. Rivers in the Desert, I know, is like one of your favorite songs from 5.
You could argue that like these two are quite possibly the iconic songs of these games.
Yeah.
Like Heartfelt Cry, you could definitely argue as one of the iconic songs from P3, but Rivers in the Desert, I think, is definitely like top tier iconic song from Persona 5.
Yeah. Well, and Heartfelt Cry is definitely the song from Fez.
Yes.
Like, if anybody remembers anything from Fez, it's Heartfelt Cry. And it's been remixed, and like every single iteration that's moved forward, like all the fighting games have a remix of Heartfelt Cry.
It's basically de facto Aiga's theme now.
Yes.
Both of these songs occur during like really big boss fights at the end game of their respective games. Like, if you're looking like on paper, like this is a very even matchup.
Yeah, it is.
Which makes this very difficult.
Yeah, and I don't know what would go forward here, honestly.
Yeah, it's
I know what
tough.
I picked, but what I picked is not necessarily the correct answer.
So it's okay. Let's go. Let's just let's start a conversation. What did you pick?
So I picked Heartfelt Cry. And one reason why I did pick it is because, one, I really like it, but two, it has become so iconic and has moved forward in so many games that like it's really synonymous with Persona 3 at this point, like as one of those big songs. Persona 5 hasn't had time to do that,
but I would argue that coming out of like the release of Persona 5, this was one of like the songs that everyone pointed to and was like, this is the song on the soundtrack that you need to listen to.
Yeah.
And be like, and like if you want to like understand like what the soundtrack is, like why it's so popular, like this is the song. And like
I could see that.
I think going forward, this is going to be one of those iconic songs that you associate Persona 5 with. Like, you're going to hear it in the inevitable fighting game. You're going to hear it in the inevitable other spin-offs or whatever that's probably going to come.
If you don't, then it's a mistake
Atlas
on their part. It's a mistake on their part.
Yeah,
because it's a good song. And I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Persona 5 has a good soundtrack.
It does. It's one of the few good things about that game.
Correct. I still don't like it as much as I like 3 or 4, and like the respective like G and Fez and all that. That said, this song is just like incredible.
Yeah.
It's one of those that like I will listen to it and I'm like, yes, okay, you are a good song. You are a shining star in the middle of the turd that is Persona 5. And there are a few songs that are like that, but I cannot forgive the gross homophobia in Persona 5, but I can say that Rivers in the Desert is really good, and I guess people can quote me on that.
But at the same time, you can say the exact same thing about Heartfelt Cry.
You can. Except for Persona 3 was a better game.
True.
And in Persona 3's defense, which like, yeah, there's some problematic stuff in it, but also it came out in like 2007?
The game that really showed us that Katsura Hashino is a transphobe.
Yeah, he's gross. 2016, it should have been like somebody should have said, "Hey, bro, this isn't okay. Grow up. Also treat people like people." Yay. So luckily for I guess us in general as a people, people with I'm trying to think of the right way to say this too. Some people in media are realizing that, hey, maybe this is not okay to do, to make fun of people that are not like you. Hashino's not one of those people.
No.
And so we're getting better media in some cases, but not from him.
Yeah.
But like I said, 2016, it was definitely not okay. That said, I still don't know the answer to this.
I don't either. I've been looking at this for the last like 3 minutes, and I just don't know. Like if we had a system of ties, like this is the tie.
Yeah, this would be a tie.
Do we go to the tiebreaker of flipping a coin?
I'd be fine with flipping a coin.
Because honestly, like I
can't choose. Like I can choose for me, but I can't choose for the bracket.
I feel like our arguments have basically been like literally the same.
Yeah.
Like you look at the tail of the tape here, and these two are virtually identical.
Do you have a coin?
I have a coin. I have the Breath of the Wild coin.
All right. Well, I was gonna say, what are the two sides?
The Sheikah symbol is one, the Z is the other. So.
Okay, we're gonna do Sheikah symbol as Rivers and Z is Heartful Cry.
All right. I mean, no one's gonna be able to verify that I'm telling the truth here, but this is all on the up and up. Heartfelt Cry is moving forward.
All right. That was tough.
I don't think we had one of these like this close before in like in last year's. If we did, I don't remember, but like, man.
That was a hard decision.
Yeah. That's a
Thanks, Coin. God. You got us out of making a decision.
That's a murderous matchup there. Up next, we have the battle theme from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment taking on Want to Be Close from Persona 3.
You know what I picked already.
Yeah. I really like the battle theme from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. It's real like funky and weird. But like it's that soundtrack is that essentially. But like I don't think it's gonna have like a leg to stand on against Want to Be Close. So
Want to Be Close. All right. Want to Be Close, you go forward. It went forward on my bracket too. Nobody's surprised.
Up next we have Reach Out to the Truth from Persona 4 and With the Stars and Dust from Persona 5. It's the opening of P4 and the credits of P5.
Reach Out to the Truth.
Yeah, like
period.
Reach Out to the Truth is obviously one of the iconic songs from Persona 4. I know you had issues with the credit song of P5 initially.
I still have issues with it. I don't like it.
I think it's grown on me the more I've like listened to it. Like I don't think it's like the best credit song they've done, but like I think it's fine.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Well, here's some things you do like.
Ooh, this one was so hard for me, and I hate you putting these together.
Hey, that's you live and die by the rando.
You live and die by the I almost died because I'm like, I don't know how to make this decision.
Soul Phrase from Persona 3 Portable and Brand New Days from Persona 3 Fez. The opening of P3P and the credits of P3 Fez.
Okay, so
can I'll give my argument first because I think I have more of a clear-cut avenue for this.
All right.
I don't have that much of an attachment to Brand New Days. And I think that's in large part because I never completed Fez.
Okay.
And I think the remix on Dancing Moon Night of Brand New Days is fantastic and great and maybe my favorite version of that song, but obviously we're not counting it here, but
correct.
Yeah, like I think that's just my thing with Brand New Days. It's like I enjoy it when I hear it, but like I just don't have that like emotional attachment to it because I never finished Fez, and Soul Phrase is fantastic.
So I will say that Soul Phrase is what I picked, because anybody who knows me at all or has listened to me for maybe like 5 minutes knows how much I love P3P. But also just like the visuals, the song, like everything about Soul Phrase works so well to introduce P3P. It's also just a great song.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's one of those, again, that like if it comes on a shuffle, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. But I I love, love, love Soul Phrase. I had a hard time with this one, but I think that if we're going with like iconic, Soul Phrase gets it easily.
Yeah. Up next, we have Wiping All Out from Persona 3 Portable, the battle theme of that, and Master of Shadow from Persona 3. I believe that is the boss theme of Persona 3 at times.
Yes.
I believe Wiping All Out is going to advance here.
I actually picked the other one.
Wow.
Yeah. Because every single time I listen to Master of Shadow, I'm so impressed by the way that audio goes through at the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
But that's just because I'm like an audio nerd about certain things. Legit, that's all that is. Wiping All Out is fantastic and way more iconic than Master of Shadow.
Yeah.
I just love that effect. And very few songs actually do it. And the fact that like some video game music does do it, and it wouldn't, you don't usually listen to them with headphones if you're playing.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice
like if you're playing Persona 3 or if you're playing, say, Final Fantasy 8. There are certain songs that do this that you wouldn't hear when you're playing it on TV.
I wonder, like,
that when I put on headphones, I'm like, oh.
I wonder if, like, when you're playing the game, like, if they're even mixed to do that properly.
I don't know. But legit, that's the only reason that I picked it, and it gets knocked out very soon in my bracket. So, it was just me being
it's Al being Al.
An audio nerd, but Wiping All Out is so good and definitely should advance.
Yeah. Up next, we have The Battle for Everyone's Souls from Persona 3 and Our Moment from Persona 3 Dancing Moon Knight.
This one was easy.
Yeah.
This one was extremely easy. Battle for Everyone's Souls is good.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, if there's ever a song that's gonna hype you up, it's that one.
It's the reason it is like the big boss fight in that game. And still, like, I don't understand why they switched that up in the movies.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Following that, we have Best Friends from Persona 4 Arena and A Deep Mentality from Persona 3.
If you do not remember what A Deep Mentality is from Persona 3, it is the Love Hotel
yes.
theme. Which I picked it for that reason because I love that dungeon. And also it's such like a wacky song. It's so bizarre, but like that I picked that one, but I can understand why people wouldn't pick that one.
My favorite thing was like going back through and just kind of reacclimating myself with all these songs, and on the the comments section for this song for A Deep Mentality in particular, someone from 3 years ago was like, man, it's such a bummer that we don't have a Persona 3 dancing game, and like it'd be awesome if Lotus Juice would be able to rap over this song and did a remix of it instead of like what he did for Backside of the TV. And it's like,
yeah,
hey, you got your wish, buddy.
Yeah. Oof. Nice. I love this song, but I don't know what you picked.
I think A Deep Mentality goes forward here because it is
cool.
I like that song.
It's a really good song.
I like Best Friends a lot as well, but like
yeah,
that song's
I do too.
Really funky.
Yeah, it's so funky.
Up next, we have Shin Mitsuo Tensai from Persona 4 Golden and Dance from Persona 4 Dancing All Night.
Dance is so good.
I super and duper love the remix they do for the Mitsuo fight and Persona 4 Golden by giving him this theme. Like I think it fits so well. But Dance is Dance.
Dance is so good, and Dance is also like I'd say 50% of the reason that I imported the vinyl of the Persona 4 Dancing All Night soundtrack. It was basically Dance and the Lotus Juice remix are like the main reasons I bought that on vinyl, because it was like, hey, I want to listen to that on vinyl.
Because of course.
But Dance is so good. So good. And it really captured that vibe.
Absolutely. It's like if you want to understand what that game is, like bingo, that's it.
That's it. Except for, the whole like super dark story part of it. But that's okay. You gotta dance with your pals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Time from Persona 3 Portable and Light the Fire Up in the Night dual mix, because I just like that version.
The dual mix is super good.
And it makes it easier than making 2 separate entries for it.
Correct. Again, I went with a P3P song because Time is very iconic to me. What? Who would have thunk that she would pick a P3P song? But I mean, Light the Fire Up in the Night is, let me clarify, Light the Fire Up in the Night dual mix is very good.
And I think it works so well as like with the fact that, you know, they make 2 different versions of it depending on which version of Persona Q you're playing.
Which route you're going.
And both of them fit so well because they make these subtle changes for, like, you know, the P3 version's a little like harder, the P4 version's a little softer and has like that upbeat mentality to it. And it lets you, like, even though it's the same battle song, it's the same lyrics and everything, like, it gives you the feeling like, okay, this is the Persona 3 experience that I want, or this is the Persona 4 experience that I want. And I really think Time is one of the better songs on the P3P soundtrack, but
again, objectively, I think Light the Fire Up in the Night dual mix should go forward. While I do very, very much love Time and regret to say that, Light the Fire Up in the Night is like one of those like super, super iconic songs from Q.
Speaking of Q, we have Maze of Life, the opening from Persona Q, taking on Life Will Change from Persona 5.
Well, it's a good thing that we let that Q song go forward because it's not going to go forward here.
Yeah, Maze of Life is really good.
It's really good. It's really, really good. But Life Will Change
is one of the, you know, it's one of those iconic songs associated with Persona 5.
And my personal favorite on Persona 5 soundtrack. Just saying.
Well, let's talk about the Persona 4 soundtrack real quick.
I have controversial opinions here. I have the worst controversial opinion here.
Nevermore, the end credit song from Persona 4 takes on Heaven from Persona 4, the now Nanako dungeon. We all know the best version of Heaven is the Hatsune Miku remix from Persona 4 Dancing All Night. That is not even subjective. That is a fact. Scientifically proven. Come on.
You know this. I don't know that everybody knows this. Because I think the first time I said this to you, you're like, what? But I don't like Heaven at all. I think that it's easily one of the worst songs on the Persona 4 soundtrack.
And I think going up against Nevermore isn't going to do it any favors.
It doesn't do it any favors because Nevermore is, again, one of those super iconic songs. Yeah. Heaven, I understand that people really like it. Like, I get that in my brain, but I despise the song. I love that dungeon. I think the dungeon's great. I just mute it every time.
And, like, the remixes are all better.
I still don't like them.
We are down to our final few battles here. Let's keep on going with Moonlight Serendipity from Persona 3 Dancing Moon Knight, the end credits theme for that, and Last Surprise from Persona 5.
So what I picked is going to be different from what the objective pick is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I picked Moonlight Serendipity. I think it's a really fun song.
Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot.
I think it's fine.
But Last Surprise is going to go forward here.
Yeah.
It has to, because it's, again...
If this was like, if you switch the end credits in the opening of P3 Dancing Moon Knight, I think Our Moment would go forward here. Our Moment had the unfortunate task of going against the Battle for Everyone's Souls, so it automatically just gets obliterated.
Yeah, it's real tragic because God, that's a good song. Yeah. But
Last Surprise is another one that's like, this is a Persona 5 song. This is one of the Persona 5 songs.
Yes.
Welcome to matchup 29, the Jared specific matchup where he hates himself for living and dying by the rando. We have Calistasia from Persona 4 Dancing All Night and Maya's Theme 2 from Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. Both fantastic songs.
So good.
Maya's Theme is amazing. It's, obviously
Maya's Theme 2.
It's one of the things like you hear the most because you obviously are playing as Maya in Eternal Punishment. But the Persona 4 Dancing All Night credit song is amazing.
It's so good.
And it's moving forward.
It's so good. Yeah, it's got to.
Up next, we have the Poem of Everybody's Souls from Revelations Persona, the end credits song, taking on Time to Make History from Persona 4 Golden. I don't necessarily like Time to Make History as much as like the original battle theme, and also it's going up against the Velvet Room theme.
Yeah, so I picked Time to Make History because I really enjoy it, but objectively, the Velvet Room theme has to go forward, period.
And then our final two matchups of the opening round. A Fool or Clown from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax and Pursuing My True Self from Persona 4.
I think this one's an easy one. Not because A Fool or Clown is a great song.
It really is.
And it again is one of those songs that very much captures like the chaos of Adachi. Because if in case you don't know, it's his fighting game theme. Pursuing My True Self is iconic.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
And finally, we have Our Beginning from Persona 5 taking on Iwatodai Station or Dorm, whichever you want to call it, from Persona 3. Iwatodai Station or Dorm is very iconic in terms of Persona 3.
It is. It is very iconic.
But Our Beginning is like the most out song in Persona 5.
I thought you said Rivers in the Desert was.
I'm changing my pick here at the very end. It's a swerve. I think Our Beginning might be my favorite song on the Persona 5 soundtrack, just because like it is the second half of the final boss fight theme. It's so good, and I think as well it seems like it's a song that like should have been in Persona 4 that got snuck into Persona 5. It should have been
Persona 4.
And I think that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, in terms of like the actual sound of it, it's definitely a Persona 4 song.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like it better than a lot of songs on Persona 5 is because it sounds like a Persona 4 song. Yeah. I personally like Iwatodai Station / Dorm song better. Partially because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like if there is ever a song that's gonna set a mood right there, it's that one, because you're like, what am I getting into when you're in the dorm in Persona 3? I will let you have this one.
Yay! To be fair, like Iwatodai Station, fantastic. Like you said, it really sets the mood for that dorm. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
And strange.
But it also like again sets you up very early in the game of like, okay, this soundtrack's gonna be a little weird. And I was like, yes, I'm about this life.
We are down to 32 entrants. We take ourselves to the second round. Where things are going to get a little bit more difficult.
Start getting nitty-gritty here.
We have the opening of Persona 2 Eternal Innocent Sin taking on Heartbeat Heartbreak. I would push forward the Persona 2 opening here.
Ooh, really? I was going to go the opposite direction.
Like honestly, if you set me in a table and you gave me Signs of Love, Heartbeat Heartbreak, and Your Affection, at this point in time, like with how many times I've heard them, they are interchangeable.
Okay.
Like they could just be the same song for all I know. The opening to Persona 2, like the way the opening Persona 2 is set up is amazing, because it takes that slow build from Revelations Persona. Like you have this slow build, you're introducing, like you see the characters intermingled with this poetry that you're reading that literally is talking about like the psychological horrors of those early games of like the ideas of personas.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you see this build, and then it crescendos, and like the opening just goes crazy, and it's like so good. Like, and it still keeps within that theme of like the way those soundtracks used to be, the way this game's going to be in terms of like just crazy stuff's happening. And like I think like out of those 3 early games, like this is the opening that fits those games perfectly.
All right. I buy it.
You will concede.
I will concede.
Up next we have Change Your Way against the Genesis. Like, look, I said my piece about Change Your Way, how it's a very much a great song of that era, and like when I beat Persona 2 Eternal Punishment a few years back and heard that as the end credits, I was like, what? This is very strange. Okay, but sure, this works.
Yep.
The Genesis goes on through here.
The Genesis goes forward.
A Way of Life and A New World Fool.
I still think A Way of Life is way more like iconic of the game itself.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of A's. Snow Queen versus Burn My Dread.
I think Burn My Dread has to go forward here.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I think Snow Queen, like we talked about, is super interesting.
It's good.
But Burn My Dread is also Burn My Dread. Kimi no Tonore versus Memories of You.
Memories of You.
Yeah.
That song still makes me cry.
Shadow World versus Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There.
Again, I have personal feelings here, but I don't know that they're objective feelings.
If we were being honest here,
yes,
you mentioned how people didn't really like Shadow World.
It's true, they didn't.
They didn't.
Everybody liked Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There.
I'm not that high on Shadow World. Like,
really?
I appreciate it as a song, but if we're talking objectively, I think when they did the new theme for Persona 4 The Golden, the animation, I think they made that song better.
Okay.
Like, that opening is a better opening than Shadow World is.
Again, like I was saying a second ago, like, I love Shadow World. I think it's great. Wake Up, Get Up. Let me try again. Wake Up, Get Out There is going to be way more iconic, and it was way better received.
I mean, even if we're taking away from like how well it's received, like I don't think that really means jack here.
It doesn't, but it's still a thing.
It is.
That I'm thinking of, that like, if you remember when like the first bit of the opening dropped,
yeah,
people were like, "Holy, what is this?" So
I think as well though that like, you know, it has that like awe factor to it, and Shadow World also has like the it kind of has a detriment to it in that it's a second opening for Persona 4.
Correct.
So it's like it has to weigh up against that as well, while Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There doesn't have to do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Wake Up, Get Up There, Get Out there. I can't even
Wake
say
Up,
this
Get Up There,
name.
Get Out There.
Do your dang thing. That one goes forward. It does.
Memories of the City versus Baby Baby Baby.
Memories of the City.
Yeah, as I wrote it.
It's a better song, period. I love Mass Destruction. Memories of the City is phenomenal.
Your Affection versus Break Out Of.
I put Your Affection forward.
Even though I just had that downplay of Persona 4 songs, I would also put Your Affection forward.
Okay.
Heartfelt Cry versus Want to Be Close. Heartfelt Cry.
Heartfelt Cry.
Reach Out to the Truth versus Soul Phrase. Ooh.
I'd give this one to Soul Phrase still. Reach Out to the Truth is super good.
Do you want to face out? Do you want to hold out? Do you want to reach out to the truth?
I want to write you an endless song.
Okay. Man. I don't know. I'm not necessarily like buying straight away that Soul Phrase is the winner here.
Okay, why?
I feel like for me, Reach Out to the Truth is such an iconic song for Persona 4.
It is.
Like, when I think of that game, like, Reach Out to the Truth is probably, like, one of the first songs I would think of. But also, at the same time, if I'm thinking of Persona 3 Portable, Soul Phrase would probably be up there as well.
Okay, so one thing that I will say, even though I personally picked Soul Phrase, and I really, really like Soul Phrase a lot, I will say that one thing that would make me lean for Reach Out to the Truth here is the fact that the leitmotifs of this song are throughout 4. Like, Reach Out to the Truth is in a lot of songs, even if it's not the song that's currently playing.
Right.
And that's a really cool thing about the game, is that you do have, like, those recurring themes with this song. So it's kind of like you can't get away from it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Because of, like, it basically being, like, the theme of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there in the literal title of the song. That's the theme of the game.
It is the theme of the game. So, again, I personally like Soul Phrase better. But I think that based on the fact that the song Reach Out to the Truth is, 1, very iconic, and 2, is, like, throughout the soundtrack in different ways, I think it's got to go forward.
Plus, when they play it live, it has a sick guitar solo in it.
Nice.
All right. Wiping All Out versus the Battle for Everyone's Souls.
This one's done.
All right, let's start Wiping All Out. Battle for Everyone.
The Battle for Everyone's Souls, like, sorry, Wiping All Out. You can't compete with that.
A Deep Mentality versus Dance.
I put Dance forward.
Same. Light the Fire Up in the Night versus Life Will Change.
Oof.
I think this is Life Will Change.
Oh, that hurts me. You're probably right, though. Because Light the Fire Up in the Night, I do very much like it, and the fact that, like, 3 and 4 are both represented there.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. Life Will Change will have to go forward here.
Life Will Change has the benefit of being, like, you know, it's the song where, like, oh, we need to get pumped up. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's part of why it's, like, one of my favorite ones in there.
Nevermore versus Last Surprise.
Nevermore.
Yeah. Calistagia versus the Poem of Everybody's Souls.
I hate to do it because it's such a good song. Poem of Everybody's Souls has to go.
All right.
It has to go forward.
All right. I've been waiting to do this. I'm pulling out my argument.
Okay, pull it.
This is going to be a hot take, but I believe Calistagia is the best Persona end theme they've ever done.
Ooh, ever?
Ever.
I don't know about that.
Ever.
I can't agree with you. It's a good song.
It's upbeat and fun. It also
is upbeat and fun.
It is reminisced, or it is, you hear it throughout the entirety of the song in this weird backwards version where it has this darkness energy to it. And then when you get to the end of the game, it's a fun poppy song. Here we go, yay! And it's real fun. And also, like, you know, not kind of about, like, suicide and stuff, you know, but it's a fun poppy song, yay!
Yeah.
I would take Calistagia over Poem of Everybody's Souls 1,000 times to 1.
Okay, you would.
I would.
In terms of iconic songs, in terms of songs that are objectively like Persona,
Callistagia.
It's got to be the Velvet Room theme.
If you want to look at a song that encompasses the theme of modern Persona, it's Callistagia.
How?
Because it's how those songs are written now.
Okay, yeah, but I don't know that I can agree with you on that. I really think that, for one, this song has stuck with it from the beginning. It's in literally all the games. It's so iconic. So iconic to the point that they even remixed it to be one of the best battle themes ever. Ever. I can't agree with you on this. I think that Callistagia is a great song. I think it's very, very representative of Dan. Like, it's so good. And the fact that it does do the whole like poppy thing with very depressing lyrics, like that's something that Persona does. But I don't think that in terms of like it being objectively a better song or a more Persona song, that I can agree with you on that. I don't.
Okay. I would just say, though, that keeping in mind the Revelation Persona end credits is not the exact same as the Velvet Room theme.
It's not the exact same, but it's been like, it's so close enough that we know it's the same song.
I mean, is it?
You literally said earlier in this podcast that it was the Velvet Room theme.
I mean, did I?
Yes. You did.
Final fight. That's a different game. Pursuing My True Self versus Our Beginning.
I put Pursuing My True Self forward here. And my reasoning was that, like, it was one of those songs that really hyped me when I was first playing Persona 4.
I mean, this is a battle of Persona 4 songs. Let's be real.
It is. It is. I won't fight you on that one because Our Beginning should have been in Persona 4.
I would agree with you on that, on what you said about how it's a good way to hype you up when you're starting this game up. Our Beginning is a good way to hype you up in the latter half of that boss fight, which is very grueling.
Yeah, that boss fight sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be one of those things, though, that, like, if you say Pursuing My True Self, people are like, oh, Persona 4. If you say Our Beginning, people are like, which one's that from?
And to be fair, like, when we were putting this list together, you were like, that's not, what is that? That's not the name of that song.
Yeah, because I always knew, I cannot talk today. I'm so tired.
It's been a day.
In my brain, it's like the Jabberdaw / Our Beginning.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is in my head, that it's part 2 of a song.
Mm-hmm. So I think Pursuing goes forward. Oh god, my pen's not writing. Oh no, my pen doesn't want to write. Oh shucks. Callistagia's moving forward.
No. Wait, how'd you not write that one down yet?
I did. I was given a goof.
Whew, okay. Do you need a new pen?
No, it's fine.
Okay. You're just gonna write it with blood?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stab myself and write with blood because I'm gonna do the rest of this podcast under protest. We now enter the...
You knew that fights were gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
You knew they were gonna happen.
And I knew that was a fight that was going to be very hard from the get-go, but like that was the one I was going to put my foot down for.
Okay. We have not yet got to the point where I have to put my foot down.
We enter the Sweet 16.
All right, let's do it.
And we start off with the Persona 2 opening versus the Genesis.
The Genesis. All right, time to pull it out.
I if anything, I wanted to hear your argument for the Genesis, so this would be a good time to pull that out.
Okay, so the Genesis is the boss theme for the very final boss, the true ending boss, I guess, of Persona 4.
Izanami.
Izanami, yes. And so the reason that I think the Genesis is so phenomenal is one, and again, you know this, most people probably don't. One of the things that I think is fantastic about game music is that you have the song Dancing Mad is one of the best songs ever created in gaming music. It's built up in different parts so that it actually corresponds with how you're supposed to be feeling within the actual boss fight. And in that instance, the sprite changes. This doesn't happen here, but as the sprite changes as you move up, you're feeling a different thing. The Genesis does the exact same thing, because how this song works, how it's structured, is that it starts off and you feel extremely hopeless, and you're basically told you are not going to win this fight. So you have that hopelessness, that despair type part of it, and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And you start getting a bit more of like an actual feeling of like, okay, maybe I could do this in the middle part of it, which then goes to the very end where you have that one part of the song that they're pulling in the leitmotifs and you're like, yes, I can pull it together. I have my friends behind me. I can win this fight. I can do it. You're going down. Like it does it. It does the exact same thing with that progression of like, you are thinking that this is over. And then it's not, because everything about Persona 4 that you've learned up to that point about like how bonds matter and how your friends matter and how you're going to get through this with them, that comes into play here. And it's literally reflected through the song. And it's a long song.
It's not as long as like Dancing Mad is.
Well, Dancing Mad's also insane.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's still like a 7-8 minute song ish.
Yeah, which is, it's not usually for boss themes. It's like 2 or 3 minutes and then looped. The Genesis doesn't do that. It has that progression, and I think that it's phenomenal. And every time I listen to it, like I go back to that feeling that I had in that boss fight. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember feeling this way, and I remember feeling like this, and then I remember going to this part of the song and feeling like, okay, I could do this, and at the end, like, yes, I've got this. This is over. Going down. Like, I can feel it every time I hear it, and that, to me, is just, like, amazing how that can happen via music. That's my Genesis argument.
Yeah, I can't argue with you on the fact that like, yeah, you summed it up really well, that like it kind of essentially summarizes the entirety of what Persona 4 is all about in one song.
It does.
I don't necessarily get the same like, oh, I remember feeling like this in this moment of this song, like you do, but also like I appreciate that the way that song works, and
which is wild because you like Persona 4 like a lot. It's one of your favorite games, and so I would feel like you would be like really into that feeling.
I would just like to say that I'm glad I was able to get a song from the early Persona games into the round of 16.
Yeah.
But the Genesis is obviously, I think, the winner here.
Yeah.
A Way of Life versus Burn My Bread.
Burn My Bread's gotta go in forward.
I don't know.
Really?
If we are looking at this, at the way this is right now.
Yeah, as we are.
I kind of feel like A Way of Life is emblematic of Persona 3 Portable.
It is.
And in that sense, I think it should go through.
And you don't think Burn My Dread is for Persona 3?
It is.
Yeah.
But I think I would honestly inch A Way of Life like slightly ahead of it. Like a smidge.
Okay, why?
I don't know. I think it's one of the ways, like, I don't necessarily, like, when I think of Persona, like, obviously this is a common thing going forward, but, like, when I think of Persona 3, I don't necessarily say, like, oh, Burn My Dread is the first thing that's going to come to mind.
But it is for a lot of people. Because
sure,
it is.
But they're not us.
The very first. Right, but I'm saying, like, the very first introduction to Persona 3 is Burn My Dread.
Yeah, totally. But I think as well, like, if I think of Persona 3 Portable, like, A Way of Life is going to be one of those songs that I'm like, oh, right, yeah, that song, yeah. That's the way that, like, that game feels. Like, it's very, it's the opposite in a ways of the male route where, like, you know, you feel like there's a difference here. There's a different attitude. There's a different style going on. And it's, even though you're in the same story, it's not the same. Like,
correct.
The FemC has just, like, this different aura about her. And I feel like this song is kind of that in general, where it's like, hey, you know, we have all this similar things from Persona 3, but, like, here's all this new stuff. Here's the way, like, here's the way this version of this game is going to be. And it's going to be a little bit different from the original Persona 3. I wanted to make that rhyme.
So this was a very hard decision for me when I had to make this decision. Because A Way of Life is one of my favorite Persona songs, period. I think it's very hard to edge it forward in front of Burn My Dread because of how big and important Burn My Dread is to the series. However, that being said, I am willing to concede this one just because I love A Way of Life.
What if, though, we talked about how Burn My Dread is also the end boss theme of Persona 3?
Yeah, it is.
So would that...
a remixed version of it?
So in that sense, wouldn't it mean that objectively it is the more, like, it's the bigger song, it's the more iconic song, it's the more...
That's what I was saying!
Song. Hey, I just remembered that, like, that was the thing. That was the connection there, so... Can't believe I argued myself out of an argument.
I literally was saying that it was like it's literally the bookend. Like, you have the beginning of it, and then the final boss theme is Burn My Dread as well.
Look, my brain's dumb.
Your brain's not dumb. You just really like A Way of Life, and it's
sleepy.
a good song. I am also sleepy.
Burn with me.
My Dread.
Memories of You and Wake Up, Get Out There, or Wugugat.
Memories of You.
Oh, heck yeah, can't wait for this this matchup's going to be, it's the one that both of us struggled on. That's going to come up next round. Memories of the City versus Your Affection. Let me just write in Memories of the
City.
I can't wait to do this one again because it sucked the first time.
It sucked the first time so bad. And honestly, like, either one of them should go for it. It doesn't even matter to me because they're both great.
Heartful Cry versus Reach Out to the Truth, or Rot. I feel like the arguments we made about Reach Out to the Truth last round push it forward.
I agree with you on this. I was going to say it has to be Reach Out to the Truth because, like, again, Heartful Cry is a great song, and it is kind of like the Aigis theme at this point, where Reach Out to the Truth is so Persona 4.
Battle for Everyone's Souls versus Dance.
Battle for Everyone's Souls. Also, Reach Out for the Truth was at the end of the Genesis. Just saying.
Life Will Change versus Nevermore.
I say Nevermore.
I might say Life Will Change.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not really, like, tied to it, so There are some that I'm tied to, and I will fight them, but this isn't one of them.
Poem of Everyone's Souls versus Pursuing My True Self. I was like, what is this song that I wrote down? I don't know. I'm dumb.
It's when your pen ran out of ink. Oof.
I mean, look, Poem of Everyone's Souls is in all the games. It's so it's very iconic.
It is very iconic.
I think that pushes it forward.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there were 8. The Elite 8.
Ugh. It's gonna start getting real hard now.
We start off with the Genesis versus Burn My Dread.
I assume you already know what I picked.
Yeah, Burn My Dread. All right, I'm just gonna write that down.
I put the Genesis.
Yeah, I think at this point it makes sense.
It does, and what?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's such a powerful song, and Burn My Dread is great, and it also is the bookend of 3. But there are better songs in Persona 3 that I think will go forward.
Speaking of, one of these are gonna go forward. One of them's going home.
Oh my
God!
Memories
of You versus Memories of the City.
I redid this one probably 50 times.
We talked about this after we did our individual brackets, and it was like, you know, I saw, like, I was like, oh right, you had the same problem that I did, where you got to Memories of You and Memories of the City, and it's like, ugh. What do you do?
Which is funny because I had to remind you what Memories of the City was. And I was like, hey, it's this one. But yeah, I don't know. This one was the hardest one that I had to do. Legit.
Mm-hmm. It was one I stared at for a while, just like, oh God, what do I do?
And either one of them deserved to go forward. Just saying that straight up. Either
Absolutely.
One should, if they weren't against each other, they would respectively go forward, and they would have to eventually fight them again. But Memories of You makes me cry still to this day. It is a very, very powerful song after the ending of Persona 3. That being said, Memories of the City really gives you that sense of like absolute and utter hopelessness after you get the news in December.
Mm-hmm. It's all of those compounding issues where, you know, you have the news in December about the world ending in January. The Nyx cult's running amok and basically just running roughshod over everything.
Everybody's trying to figure out like what their purpose in life is and what they're fighting for. Like there is like an utter sense of hopelessness, and this song really, really nails that. It gives you like a weird sense of like restlessness and dread, but at the same time like a very intense sense of like nostalgia for what you've been doing through the rest of the game.
Right. And like you said, like I didn't remember what it was off the name alone, but like once I heard it, I was like, oh right, it's the end game. Like this is like December and January. This is that time period in that game. Like instantly, that's I knew it. I was like, oh, this is what this means. This is all these feelings that I get when I hear this. This is like this is what I associate this with.
Correct. And I just cry a lot when it comes to Memories of You. Like this came out ages ago, and I still cry when I hear that song, which is insane that it could have that kind of an impact. But I think that one thing that we can say for both of these songs that is important to mention is that both of them bring us back to the feelings that we felt when we were playing those sections of the game or like at the end of it. Both of them are very, very good at evoking emotion from you. And like that says a lot, that it can give you that intense of a reaction. I would argue these are two of the best songs in Persona 3. period. There's another one that will come up very, very soon that is also one of the best songs for Persona 3. But, you have songs in Persona 3 that are iconic. Burn My Dread, you have Mass Destruction. But, like, these two songs blow those out of the water. The question is, which one goes forward?
I'm still leaning the way I went with my individual pick, and I think it's Memories of the City.
Yeah. And I told you why I picked Memories of You when I moved it forward. Because I fought with this for a long, long time. And the reason that I picked Memories of You is because I was thinking, like, when I think Persona 3, which song of these two do I think of most? And which one still has, like, that intense impact on me? And again, the fact that I can still have, like, an intense emotional response to the ending of Persona 3 based on this song alone, that's why I moved Memories of You forward, is because it's been a decade. It's been over a decade. And still just, like, hearing the opening notes of it, you're like, oh, God. Man, that happened. And, like, I listened to it today because, fun fact, guys, we're recording this on March 5th. Woo!
Happy Door Day.
It's the roof. Happy Door Day. He's been a door for 9 years now, I guess. But I was listening to this today because it was like, you know what, it's Door Day. I gotta pour one out for my homie, I guess. Is the phrase that the kids are saying.
Yeah, totally.
Said no kid ever. And so that would be my argument for it, is that, like, one, it's the one that people will definitely gravitate towards and say, like, yes, this is Persona 3. But also, when you're feeling the emotions of Persona 3, this is the song that's going to make you feel them. That being said, again, Memories of the City is fantastic. It is one of the best songs on that soundtrack. I still think Memories of You is a more intense emotional experience and more... I hate using the word iconic so much, but, like, it's one of those songs that you hear it and you're like, yes, okay, that's that game.
I feel like the only problem I have with your argument is that I honestly feel like I could say the same things about Memories of the City that you just said.
But do you? Like, if you played Memories of the City to somebody who hasn't played Persona 3 in the past, like, year or two.
But I don't care what they think.
If you played... No, but I'm saying, like, we have to be objective about this.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we're including, like, hypotheticals here.
But it kind of does, because if we're thinking scientifically, what's the better song? That song would be the one that evokes emotion from people.
Memories of the City evokes emotion from people.
To the level of Memories of You, though?
It can.
Like... If you're thinking about, like,
okay, here
today is a big there are 2 days that are really big for Persona 3 fans. One is October 4th, one is today.
True.
And if you're looking at, like, what people are doing, what people are saying, it's always going to come back to Memories of You.
But so when I first beat Persona 3, like, I cried at the end of it.
I did too.
But going back and listening to Memories of You, I don't cry. Like, I feel like, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember, like, how sad this made me, but, like, I don't necessarily feel like it just, like, generates all this wells of emotion inside me like it does for you.
Okay.
And I feel like that's going to be a case-by-case basis. Like, it's not going to be the same as it is for me as it is for other people, nor is it going to be the same as it is for you as it is for other people.
But again, you could use that argument for Memories of the City too. That you're saying that you have that emotional response to it. But most people wouldn't.
I feel like, though, if you, like, I don't think Memories of the City has, like, the same, like, name recognition value as Memories of You, but if you put it on for someone who has played through all of Persona 3 and, like, remembers, like, what happens throughout it, they're going to listen to Memories of the City and be like, right, this is the end portion of this game. This is when you're feeling all that dread, that anxiety, where you're like, oh God, is this it? Are we about to all die in a month? Is the whole world about to just be turned into nothingness because we can't do anything to stop the oncoming threat of death itself?
And then Memories of You is the actual death itself of your player character.
But everyone else is fine. It's all right.
But are they? Because Fez shows you that they're very much not.
Do we talk about Persona 3 Fez at all? Let's be real.
We do talk about Persona 3 Fez.
Did it happen? Let's be real.
It happened.
I don't know. I've seen them in other games, and they seem pretty okay to me.
Oh my God.
June plays baseball.
Akihiko no longer wears a shirt and has a giant bear scar.
Yeah, he's totally fine.
That is not an okay gentleman.
Well, because he's chaperoned for the first time in his life, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, so he's gonna fight bears.
Yeah, God, that was a mistake for them to turn him into a weird grappling character. Like, he could have been a grappler police officer, or just make him do what he's always been good at, which is boxing. Wow, imagine that. God, I hate that they did that to him. Anyway, I'm still going to fight for Memories of You.
I will fight for Memories of the City.
So what are we going to do?
Fight.
I really think that if we're thinking objectively and scientifically, Memories of You makes more sense. Because it is like the Persona 3 song.
I wouldn't even argue that.
I mean, are you going to argue that, like, Burn My Dread is? Or, I mean, we both know that the battle theme that we're going to talk about soon is, like, phenomenal and, like, one of the best songs, if not the best song.
I would argue that's the song of Persona 3.
Okay.
But at the same time, I am willing to concede that Memories of the City is very much a specific time and place of that game.
It is.
And Memories of You can be seen as emblematic of the entire journey that you go throughout that whole game. So it's not just like a specific period in time. It is all of the time you spend with that game. And I can see why that would be more impactful and resonate more with other people than Memories of the City would.
Yes.
Oh God, I can't write again.
Oh God.
Oh, doesn't count.
Blood again. No. We worked hard for this decision.
All right, let's move on to the other two matchups in this quarterfinals.
Hell of a bracket.
Yeah. Reach Out to the Truth versus Battle for Everyone's Souls.
It's the Battle for Everyone's Souls.
People are gonna like look at this and be like, "Man, they have not argued at all for Battle for Everyone's Souls," and it's gonna be like, "Well, we're getting there.
We're getting there."
And Life Will Change versus the Poem of Everyone's Souls.
How many souls are we gonna fight for?
Well, I mean, what kind of souls are we fighting for? We're gonna battle, and then we're gonna write poetry about them.
What were the choices?
Life Will Change and the Poem of Everyone's Souls.
I mean, let's be real. Whatever gets in the next bracket's going to get knocked out immediately.
You're not wrong.
We know it will.
You're not wrong.
We know it will. So the question is, which one do we feel like should be able to even try and fight it?
Probably Poem of Everyone's Souls.
Yeah, I think so.
If we're being honest.
Soul battle.
And we have reached the final four.
All right.
The Genesis versus Memories of You.
Two songs that I was willing to go to bat for. Now I feel like I'm betraying one.
I mean, you are.
I am, because I fought for them both so hard. Which I say I fought for the Genesis so hard. I didn't really fight for that hard. I just had a very drawn out explanation for it. I still think Memories of You is going to have to take this one.
Okay, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think over both again. See if you're wavering on any of them. See if you feel an inkling either way. If you want to argue with yourself.
No.
100% positive.
100% positive.
Okay. Let me tell you about the Genesis, how it's got all these great leitmotifs and, you remember Dancing Mad?
I do remember Dancing Mad. Yeah. I'd still go Memories of You.
Okay. Battle for Everyone's Souls in the Poem of Everyone's Souls. Everyone's Souls is going to the finals.
Battle for Everyone's Souls has to go to the finals. It has to.
All right, our all Persona 3 finals is here. We have reached the final matchup.
This one's so frack hard.
Let me tell you about the Battle of Everyone's Souls.
Yeah, so again, you were just saying, people are like, oh, they haven't really been talking about that much. That's because we're waiting for right now. Let's talk about the Battle for Everyone's Souls, because we need to talk about this song.
Probably the most infamous battle theme, boss theme throughout the entire series.
Yes.
Obviously because it plays throughout the Nyx fight, which is, very much known for taking...
The Nyx Avatar.
Yeah, the Nyx Avatar fight, which takes, roughly an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours just to get through.
Yes.
So you're constantly hearing this music. But at the same time, it's a song that doesn't get old. It's a song that is very much like, yo, this is a fight for all of Earth.
Everybody.
It's here to pump you up. It's here to not let you get dragged down into the depths of despair. You are here to fight, and we are going to drive you forward, and you're going to save this planet. You're going to save your friends. You're going to save the town. You're going to save everyone. You're going to spit in Death's face and tell him to f*** off and literally punch him to oblivion.
And we're also going to use parts of the Poem for Everyone's Souls in this. Which is also part of the reason why I feel like it's fine moving it forward, is because it's literally in this song too. You have the vocalization from the Velvet Room theme, you have the motifs from it in there, but at the same time you have the sweet drum line, you have the sweet guitars, you are legit feeling like you can take on the world, and I'm about that life.
It's very much like the crux of a shonen anime. This is the fight, and it has the perfect song for you. If you take everything from the Persona 3 soundtrack, this is the song. Yeah. This is the song that embodies Persona 3. It's, having everything thrown at you, and you basically having the wherewithal to stand up for yourself, stand up with your friends, and look whatever is facing you in the eye and be like, no, I'm going to fight back, and we're going to win, no matter what, no matter the circumstances. We will fight together, and we will win.
Yeah.
It's the best Persona 3 song.
You know what? I agree with you.
Which means, objectively, that means it's the best Persona song!
Objectively, it is the best Persona song.
Yeah.
I can't argue with you on this. But the thing is that it's because I don't want to argue with you.
It honestly, even if this was just me playing devil's advocate, the Battle for Everyone's Souls is honestly might be my favorite Persona song, because it's so... It reminds me of that battle. It reminds me just feeling so jazzed to be all right, let's do this. Let's do this.
And also, just because I have to mention it, has a very sweet remix in the dancing game with the like ridiculously K-pop dance moves and outfits, really and the like neon paint at one point, and like the boys singing out the vocal part very dramatically, and the dramatic turns. Like, yeah, okay, it's perfect. I just had to mention that remix because it's a really good remix. It's a really good remix, but like the song, even vanilla version of it, is just phenomenal in every single sense of it. Like, this is what like boss themes, especially final boss themes, should strive to be.
Yeah, honestly, like if you could put this up against most final boss themes, and 8-9 times out of 10 it's going to beat it.
It would kick its
across all video games.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's one of those songs that, like, you know, I listened to it a lot before I ever actually like encountered it in the actual game. And even having that knowledge of it and knowing it like super, super well, the impact of actually hearing it within the context of the game and like knowing the circumstances around it, like it made it even better. Even though like I was already like in love with the song and infatuated with it, like hearing it and being able to see like, okay, this is what the song means, why this song is so important. Like, it made it even better.
And even when it's not like a situation where obviously like I'm never going to be fighting for the life of the world, period. That's not a thing that I do. But if I need something that's going to like hype me up, if I'm doing something that's important to me, I put the song on. It's just how it is. It was also, although there was a lot of stuff in this, but it was one of the songs that was in my writing playlist for my dissertation.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's a great, like I would have it in a writing playlist of mine as well. And like, it's a great song to get you pumped up, to like get you in the zone to do basically like if it's writing or do whatever, honestly, like it will get you in that mindset to be like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those songs you're like, okay, this feels like it could be impossible, but then you hear this and you're like, okay, it's not. I can do this. And like that's a really cool thing that a song can do. It's great.
Yeah.
Like, even from the very first like couple notes of the song, you're like, all right, I am into this. At least I am anyway. It wins.
Yeah.
It does. Which means your bracket was right.
Ha!
But as much as I love Memories of You and have clearly fought for Memories of You, I think if I'm looking at these two songs and I'm like, which one is more Persona 3?
Yeah.
Which one do I listen to more? Which one is like that level of iconic?
Honestly, like you mentioned how the Genesis is emblematic of the themes of Persona 4. The Battle for Everyone's Souls is emblematic of the themes of Persona 3.
Oh, definitely. 1,010%.
So there you go. Scientifically, the greatest song to ever come out of a Persona game is Persona 3's The Battle for Everyone's Souls.
Loki's like, what the f-?
Persona 3 is just out here just scientifically showing its whole
Wow. That's an interesting way to put it, but yeah.
It won last year. It wins this year.
What's going to win next year?
Who knows?
What are we even going to do next year?
Who knows?
Man. You're just probably going to like do March Madness and it's all Sun all the time.
Which version of Sun is the best? Which second of Sun is the best?
And I'm just literally like, oh God, the madness definition is real.
I gotta feel like this year's wasn't as surprising as last year's because, like, I kind of feel like for the most part, our brackets were very similar in aspects.
They were very similar.
And most of the choices here, I feel like, are just like, you know, yeah, like I completely understand like why this got here. Poem for Everyone's Souls maybe is the most surprising that it made it that far.
Yeah, it was the Nanako of this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but yeah, for the most part, like I feel like this is yeah, not surprising, really. Very that emblematic being said, of us.
Though, I think that it was a fun thing to do.
Oh, yeah, because absolutely. No doubt about that.
I love arguing Persona music. I love arguing Persona in general. It's a real good time.
It is. It's why we are legally obligated to only do it once a year.
It's true. I mean, what would we do if we did this twice a year? Like, God, the Earth might collapse. Nick's avatar would come down.
The Arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
Whew. Which one are we on now?
We're in the middle. Oof. We're still in the thick of it.
Yeah, we still got like another hour to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good thing we have a good song.
Unless you do the skip, then you're fine.
Or you do like me and just like...
You do the skip and then you're like, oh, whatever. Let's do it anyways.
And Ragnarok them?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was legit.
Alrighty.
We did it!
Persona Music Madness won by the Battle for Everyone's Souls by Persona 3.
Yay!
It is official. Big meows, yes. There you go.
He's like, yay! I love that song.
I agree.
I'm glad you actually heard it. Sometimes you don't hear him anymore.
But that's gonna wrap this episode up. So if you'd like more from us, sorry.
Done the Madness of March.
We have done the Madness of March. Now we don't have to be mad.
It's true.
If you'd like more from us, go to seasonalcheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Checkup and Jared and Now Watch. And you can find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you want more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. That's where we do Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. So we do Patreon. Next week, we will do something.
We're going to be in the same room.
We will be doing something unprecedented. Never before seen in the history of this podcast.
Holy moly.
Holy moly. We'll have to figure out something to do, obviously, but I feel like we'll have options.
Yeah, we'll have options.
Who knows? We might return to bracketology again next week.
What?
I mean, that's an idea.
What are we going to bracket?
What have I ever told you about a little show called Love Live Sunshine?
Ooh. 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 All right. I'm intrigued.
As one but many possible ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. That'll be next week.
Yep.
So we'll see you then.